there's one word that I want to focus on. Okay? Focus on. And I don't think that it applies to one gentleman. I think it does apply to the other. Okay? Tony Romo, Aaron Rodgers. Okay? Tony Romo, Aaron Rodgers. The word is arrogance. Okay? And I say it, and both, I was friendly with Aaron Rodgers for a while. I know a lot of people who are friends, still close friends with him. There's no negatives there. I respect him. I think he's really bright. But I think that what happened last night was arrogance got exposed. Arrogance got exposed. Because what was the point when you played poorly against the Lions of saying, and against that team? You know? And it wasn't just him. His teammates followed suit where it felt like they didn't respect the Lions. They didn't respect the Lions. And the number one thing that I learned from playing sports, the number one thing, I have a new podcast out on my All Ball podcast. All Ball is usually basketball, but we do other stuff as well. It's really a storytelling podcast where I interview people and they tell their story within sports. Dusty May is the head coach of Florida Atlantic. I don't know if they're ranked. They're 13-1. Incredible season for the Owls. Florida Atlantic beat my Oklahoma State team. We had an 81-game non-conference home win streak. And in 1998, 98-99 season, I had 18 assists, 8 points. I actually played a really good game, but we got beat by Florida Atlantic on our home floor. They only won 6 games, I think, that year. And my takeaway then is what I tell kids that I coach this weekend, kids I coach all the time, and I tell college kids and whatever. Number one rule in sport, you better respect your opponent. Doesn't matter what business you're in, better respect your opponent. All right? Because when you don't, why add fuel to the fire? Why add motivation? The Lions did, in fact, have nothing to play for other than to keep you out of the playoffs. And you know what they did? You know what they did? And you also have to respect the game and how hard the game is. And, like, I get Aaron Rodgers, and you want to get away. And you want to have more things in your life. And it's kind of a fanaticism to be around OTAs. And why do I got to be around? But, hey, dude, you signed that gigantic contract. Your team acted arrogant because you were arrogant. Like, why are they pushing a trainer who's coming out to help a guy? I don't know what happened, and I don't care. Right? We're in a week in which we're celebrating trainers and first responders and a guy's laying on the turf in Lambeau Field. And maybe you thought he was faking it. That's fine. Go up to the ref, not to the trainer. You push a trainer, you get ejected. You look like an a-hole. That's what you do. The Packers acted like they expected the Lions to lay down. And the thing we learned about Dan Campbell is his teams aren't laying down. No shot. No shot. What a win for the Lions. What a win. In the conversation of the greatest sports moments I can remember. Okay? I tell people this story often. So if you've heard it before, I don't apologize because it's the moment I knew I wanted to play college basketball. I always said I wanted to, thought I wanted to, but the moment in which I emotionally committed was this. Okay? In the NCAA tournament, I think it was 1990, Hank Gathers had died on a basketball floor in the semifinals of the West Coast Conference tournament at Loyola Marymount, going against Portland. Eric Spoelstra was on the other team, and he collapsed, basically had a heart arrhythmia, which became like a heart attack, and died. And they didn't have a AED, didn't have a defibrillator. It couldn't save him. He died. They didn't play the championship game. They instead advanced to the NCAA tournament and played in the Long Beach Arena, which is an arena I knew really, really well because my dad when we moved to California in 1981, was an assistant coach at Long Beach State, and they played at the arena, which is right next to the Queen Mary if you've ever been to Southern California. Cool location, not a great old Civic Center, whatever. But I walked into the place, and I was already like an LMU fan. They played fast. They had fun. They averaged it seemed like 180 points. They had a couple of guys from my area, Tom Peabody and Jeff Fryer. And early in the first half, Bo Kimball, who was the best friend of Hank Gathers, they'd gone to USC together, transferred to Loyola Marymount together, had led the country in scoring, and Hank had led this country in scoring and rebounding the year before. He dribbled 3 dribbles with his right hand, switched, and shot it with his left hand because Hank Gathers, a bad free throw shooter, had begun shooting his free throws left-handed. And he made the free throw. And I'm telling the story right now. If you're watching, I have goosebumps on my arm telling the story 33 years later. It was a seminal moment in my life. I'm crying, everybody's crying, and he holds up 44. John, you ever seen pictures of what number I wore when I played basketball?
Oh, I've seen. I can't. I'm in a lot of.
Take a guess?
3.
Jay Stu, you want to take a guess again?
I saw your number get retired, or at least acknowledged at your former high school. 44.
Yes. Okay, that was my moment. It was one of the most magical things. It wasn't just all of that had gone into it and all of the maroon and all of the 44s around the arena. It was that his best friend and teammate switched and shot left-handed, and the damn thing went in. Anybody could shoot a left-handed free throw in honor of Hank Gathers, but he made the damn thing. This entire week has not really been about sports. It's been about things bigger than sports, and we've learned that Damar Hamlin seems like, man, that's a great dude. How did I not know this is a great dude beforehand? Shame on me. And then this happened.
Here's Hines on the run back, breaking a tackle and taking it past midfield, and down the sideline he goes. This is storybook, an opening kickoff return for Damar Hamlin, and this place is absolutely going wild.
Oh, you just said this is storybook. This is almost fate. I just can't believe what just happened. Josh Allen, the same thing. 6 days removed from this incredible
Can't believe it.
scene that we saw with the Bills player down in Cincinnati, and now.
Okay, let me just first, Tony Romo, let it breathe. Don't say anything. What do you do? We'll talk more about it in the podcast. But oh my gosh, you're in that moment as an analyst, and that is my role when I do basketball games. And Tony is a friend. He is a good guy. But it's either out of arrogance that he blows through stop signs when they tell him not to talk, or they think he's too arrogant that they won't talk to him. But somebody cut his mic and let Jim Nantz lay out, set the scene, and say nothing. But that's as an aside. Can you imagine I know you hate Jay Stu, they wouldn't throw that script out. That was a Hollywood script. That was it. These happy endings never happen in movies. It never happened in real life. It just did. We didn't know what it's a fair question. It's a very fair question to ask how the Bills were going to play this weekend. Right? The emotions of what they saw. How it affects everybody differently. Takes away from your concentration, your focus, and you had something to play for, but not everything to play for. You're still going to the playoffs, right? Okay, now maybe we'll have a neutral site AFC Championship game instead of going to Kansas City, but it wasn't that big in terms of winning the game. He ran the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. Dan Byer, help me here. You've watched this sport. You've done this for 20 years. In the moments that it does feel movie-like, storybook-like.
Yeah.
Where is that one in the pantheon?
The only one is comparable is Steve Gleason's blocked punt for the Saints against the Falcons when they returned.
Good one.
Yeah, after Hurricane Katrina. That's where I thought that it was at that level.
That was amazing.
And there's a statue outside the Superdome of Steve Gleason blocking that punt.
I know. And I believe, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, I think the statue went up before the ALS fight has obviously, and he has the movie, and I'd encourage any football fan to watch the movie. It's a hard watch. It's about more than just ALS. It's about relationships and religion and a lot of other things. It's actually Aaron Rodgers was the one who told me you got to watch Gleason. But the statue went up before that, I think. I mean, it was an incredible. If we remember, that's after Hurricane Katrina, and people died in the Superdome, right? And this was their New Orleans being back and blocked. That's a very good call. I mean, he returns the opening kick for a touchdown. I actually thought, the Patriots in many ways played him even except for special teams. And I thought when that happened, like Bills by 1,000,000, right? Like if you're doing live online betting, everything you can on the Bills after that thing. There ain't no way you're even competitive, and it was a competitive game.